I would like to begin our webinar with the short presentation. So we'll be discussing during our meeting here about how we can navigate ourselves in the challenges brought by the EUDR. So our Timber ID platform is one of the complete, affordable, and easy to implement solution. It has been built for months, and it is timber specific. So we do timber or rubber. We don't do any other products under EUDR. So now we would just wanted to bring you up to date to understand the market overview. So if we can see, that the forest area in Europe is just a negligible part of 4% of the overall forestry land. But when we look already at the roundwood production, and especially at the production of wooden products, then we see that in Europe we're playing a significant role. And obviously, under EUDR, we would need to get now through our obligations. So here, just to speak about the furniture producers, I believe all of you who signed up here are interested. I believe the data you see here, better than we. So yeah, it is a very large number of companies, especially SMEs, who are on this market and who need to adapt to the challenges and expectations which are brought under EUDR. So there is a tab where you can place your questions. Feel free, and we will address them at the end of our session. So now, the most important is to understand the mapping of your supply chain. What is the due diligence process you need to provide? And the definition, which is stated by me at presentation of a UDR, is UDR is a due diligence process where you need to gather information, you need to provide risk mitigations, and ultimately you need to have the proof of the source of the timber. And in this definition, the word proof is the most important, especially when you are at the last mile, as most of you, and then you need to know your suppliers tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, which today, in many cases, you are not aware of. So here are some highlights of challenges which you're facing, and we're here to address them, to help you to understand what all needs to be done in the case of furniture producers to meet the objectives of the EUDR. So let me invite now Michael. Okay, good morning, Michael.
Good morning. Hello, Svapan. Hello, how are you?
Thank you for joining us at the webinar. I just did the introduction to understanding about where the EU market is on the forestry, where we are on the furniture manufacturing. So 135,000 companies within EU. So 90% or more even SMEs. So here is the range of companies who need support, and if I can ask you just to begin and give some hints of how SME should deal or navigate his company once he's now facing the UDR challenges. There was a question, what to do and how to do when the delay is now. So officially not yet, but everybody is anticipating that is coming in few days. So basically, the time is bought. Yeah. And we need to now understand how we use this time in the most efficient way that we can meet the UDR objectives.
Yeah, well, Swapa, thank you for inviting me. What to say here? So I think everybody is happy that the delay is coming because hardly any company is 100% ready for UDR, I would say. The UDR is based on a concept of full supply chain traceability, I would say, right? And it's quite different in this relation to the existing European timber regulation, which all of you have been subject to already also now. Because the biggest difference is that you need to prove legality and that you need to prove that the material is free of forest degradation or deforestation. In this context, there are some, let's say, situations for small and medium-sized enterprises which makes their lives easier, right? Especially when you are just purchasing from European suppliers, basically. But what you need to consider as soon as you're importing wood from third countries, or in situations where you run your own sawmill and you purchase, for instance, their wood on stamp, you are fully under the UDR. So there is no exemption for this. So you are seen as a normal operator in this field. And for these situations, you need to prepare. So we're specifically when we're speaking about small and medium-sized enterprises. When we speak about non-SMEs, so companies which are bigger, you have two situations. You are, let's say, also operator. You're seen as operator, and of course, again, also your obligations related to a EUDR diverge from whether you are now importing the material and whether you are bringing it to the market, purchasing wood on stamp, for instance, or whether you are just buying it from somebody who did already a due diligence. The obligations differ insofar that in the first situations, you need to have like the full evidence. In the second situation, you need also to have the full evidence, but you do not have to, your due diligence is limited to assurance that the previous in your supply chain did the due diligence, right? So it's, when I explain it, it sounds a bit complicated. It's probably from a process not so much, but as a starting point for everybody, I think you need to assess where you stand. So what company size are you? Like, how are you really concerned by EUDR? Which of your products are concerned of EUDR? And this is a starting point for a good due diligence.
Okay, good. So we exactly are now reaching the key point is due diligence. Yeah? Because we were learning once we're meeting with customers and talking to them, obviously depending on the size of the company, depending on the history. Not in all companies today, the due diligence process is managed. Yeah, and if it is managed, even in the larger companies, usually it is managed to the first tier level of my supplier. Yeah, so I can have even tens or hundreds of suppliers, but this what I am today. I'm taking care of. I'm evaluating. I'm doing the audit. I was not prepared to do the audit of tier 2 suppliers, sub-suppliers, or tier 3. And today, I need to bring the evidence of the source of the geolocation till the forest plot. So I think, this is the biggest challenge for the companies who joined and whom we're talking from this industry, because they are at the last mile. Yeah. And we shall discuss later on how important it is to have the data from the first mile. But if you could just, give them some advice, how and what they should do.
Yeah, so basically, I mean, in the forest industry, so many of the companies are already certified, right? Either for one of the certification schemes, be it FSC or be it PFC. And in both of these schemes, you have, let's say, the concept of controlled wood or controlled sources. This concept covers basically material which was not coming from a closed chain of custody, which was coming from companies which are not certified and which are delivering material which are not certified. So in certification schemes, you can mix this in, right? For these streams, you had already the obligation from the certification perspective to map your supply chain. And if you have this sort of experience already, I think this is a good starting point to start with. Exactly this way. So you go back to your suppliers and you ask your suppliers again, who are your suppliers? And then you go as far until you come to the forest plot, because in the end, you need to you had to ensure also in certification already the compliance with the certification requirements. For instance, for the related controlled wood or controlled sources for this material. So the process as such is not very new, and I would not say, let's say, that it is a complete new concept. What is new is, of course, that the amount of data which you need to document. So whereas, like in the past, an audit approach was more or less enough, right? In the future, you will need to really have a proof of the chain, right? And this requires, let's say, a very well organized handling of the data. It means your suppliers need to be aware already on what they have to deliver, let's say, per law, like legally binding documentation, which they have to deliver. And when they are in Europe, they have to deliver you this. So it's not a question of whether they are nice or whether they are friendly. So they are obliged to provide you this information, right? It's more difficult for companies which are outside European Union, because these companies, you will have to convince that they give you this information. I mean, if they want to make business with you, they will do this. But for them, of course, they are not directly obliged. You can oblige them just contractually. And for them, it's very important that you do not get just, let's say, especially for this for the import situation, that you do not have just audit based documentation, but basically that you have access to the whole documentation of the whole chain. Because in the end, and this is how it is written in the legislation, you have to prove that the material is compliant, and you are liable for this information, right? So you just have to collect documentation, but you need also to assure yourself that this is proper material, compliant material. And in this relates to my recommendation again. First, check how far are you concerned, and then contact your suppliers, get in touch with them, discuss with them, okay, how do you want to send me this documentation? How can we organize the transfer? Where do you, let's say, really also do your harvesting? What is the risk situation in the areas from which you're sourcing? From which countries are you sourcing? And everybody knows, let's say, the risk assessments already from UTR. It's a good basis to start with, or also the certification systems partly are delivering here basic information on which additional documentation you need in order to be sure. And in the end, what you will always also need is the possibility to audit then the supply chain. Right? So this is for the import situation. For the European situation, like you're purchasing veneer from an importer, for instance, right? You're purchasing veneer for your tables from, let's say, something from the tropics, like from Africa, for instance, right? So you will get already information from this. You will get a reference number, this due diligence statement, which is needed for EUDR, right? So everybody is obliged in the chain is obliged to put to make a sort of a due diligence statement if he's a big operator, and then you will get the reference number. And then for those situations, you will need to assure that your trader, the importer, basically did the due diligence appropriately. It also means you need to have a concept of what you're checking, and then you're going back again. But you will need not to check each and every delivery. This you can do on an audit base, right? You can just go, okay, give me for this delivery, I want to check it back down to 2 or 3 harvesting sites from which this material potentially can come. And then you go there, you check everything, you make a checklist, and then you did your homework. This is also what you can do annually, for instance, in the revision process. You do not need, this is not so time bound as it is for, let's say, the first one who is putting it on the market. Okay.
Yeah, okay, good. Many thanks, Michael. And I think now slowly we're moving, once you began the audit part, and explaining how it is within Europe, how it is with imports to EU. We're moving to the part of the regulatory, which is talking about non-compliant event, So delivery, you're doing your audit and you will find out that something is wrong, so you're facing a case, and obviously, under EUDR it is mentioned all what and how you need to do. And in this aspect, especially on the high risk countries and the imports, what are the means and what are the ways of traceability, really? Because here we obviously are aware that in order to achieve this magic word, which is proof, the processes need to be really well advanced and well documented.
Yeah. So in the end, I mean, it's not so much rocket science, right? Because in a proper process, basically, you will have all a documentation of your supply chain. So the trader is purchasing from a forest owner, he's getting a delivery note, an invoice, so we will have a documentation of a transaction, right? And you're purchasing then from this trader, you will also get, let's say, a documentation of the transaction. So this is how supply chains are built. The supply chains are built not just by the operators, but also by the transactions in between, right? This is crucial, because otherwise you just have, let's say, tiers which are not linked to each other. In a high-risk environment, this transaction can probably be corrupted, or the transaction could not be the one which you are really doing. It means if in a high-risk environment, you have a risk of mixing of other material in, then it is highly recommended to have an additional physical traceability for the respective material. That means a documentation, which is basically a sort of proof that the material you were purchasing was really the material which was on the invoice or on the delivery note, and that it is not just fake information, right? So it's sort of underrated currently, I would say, in some situations, but we see this also, that this was a very strong, that the traceability topic, of the physical traceability topic, was a very strong argument to, let's say, reduce risks also in countries within Europe, right? I mentioned here Romania, for instance, where the whole system is basically digitalized. There's still problems, but they really did a great job in order to sort of out big problems there by completely digitalizing the whole chain and also by making it transparent. And a core requirement also there was, let's say, physical traceability and the documentation of the physical traceability of the wood, which you can do in different manners, like by just photo documentation, or you do it with marking or with tagging or whatever. So you have multiple possibilities to trace material physically. But it is crucial, because otherwise you end up in a situation that you have a documentation for your material which is not appropriate. And I mean, can it be found out? This is always then also a question by authorities. I would say theoretically, yes, especially when it's coming from really different regions. Like we know this also from the US authorities, for instance, that they are doing isotope testing of material. And if you then have non-conformities there, you will be asked questions, and you're liable for this, right? You're fully liable for this, as you're the one who putting the material in the market. And as a big trader or as a big producer, you're also liable for this information, even if you're just in the chain, right? So it is highly recommended to think about such situations when you think about the implementation of EUDR.
Okay, many thanks. Just to add to what you said, from the experience, our discussions we're having with multiple the customers at different events and direct the communications, we hear that in many countries within EU, also there are cases where some logs are being stolen during the logistics, or harvested in an unregistered way. So these things are happening as well within EU. They're not only happening outside of EU. So just to share this information. I don't want to name a country because I think it doesn't need, but yeah, it's happening within EU in many places. But just to add what Michael was saying, yeah. So under EUDR, this segregation of a non-compliant delivery is a requirement. Yeah. So you need to be aware, especially because I said you're at the end of the supply chain, yeah, on the last mile. So once you're providing the orders, you're checking. If you find out that something is inappropriate, your obligation is to segregate this delivery, yeah, and provide investigation. So if you can't do it, or your supplier or their sub-suppliers cannot do it, they don't have implemented any measures in the processes that they're able to fulfill this obligation, you need to inform the market that in your products there is a non-compliant timber included, which is obviously not the best case on the marketing side. Yeah. So this one liability is the real liability under EUDR. We know it is very strict. Yeah, 4% of your annual turnover. But this case of this segregation of non-compliant timber is as well a liability, and it is affecting your company name, your product name, and your position in the market. So as producers, you need to really make sure, and this is the thing what we'll discuss today, and we'll show how we can address it, that your mapping of the supply chain and your processes implemented into due diligence are robust enough in order to meet this obligations. Yeah. So now to come to the point, yeah, in a very simple way, because I would like to move to the timber ID. Part. What would you recommend to, as I said, 90+% of furniture manufacturers are SMEs. So everybody is aware they need to take some steps. So what they should do what is your recommendation? What they should do at the first goal, and how they should try to meet those requirements?
Yeah, basically for as mentioned, for the SMEs, the EUDR is not so rude. Let me put it like this, or such a big deal. If you're purchasing from European producers, which did already their due diligence and issued their due diligence statement, right? You then just have to collect and forward basically existing due diligence statements. Still you maintain liability that the material is correct, right? And if something pops up and you get information, you also would need to do something in this regard. Where it's critical is, as mentioned at the beginning, when you're importing material or when you are running your own sawmill and you're purchasing, for instance, wood directly. In such a situation, you're always the first one who is doing a due diligence, and then you need to have ready already the mapped supply chain, because the information, as soon as you bring it on the market, as soon as you import the material, you are the one who is making the due diligence statement, and with the due diligence statement you take responsibility and liability for the correctness and the compliance of the material. So in this situation, again, check where you stand, what products which you purchase are covered by UDR. This is now for the small and medium sized, right? For the big ones, it's anyway clear. The big ones are, let's say, need to have a whole big management system behind in order to be able to address all the concerns, especially when it also comes to the assurance. But for small and medium sized, I would recommend check where you are, which products are concerned, for which do you have these obligations, and then try to organize your data, right? This is crucial. So this is the external data, but of course also the internal data. Which product, which was coming in with a reference number, is transformed into another product, for instance, right? So this is the recommendation here. And start early, because it's the delay of 1 year, but 1 year is over soon.
Yeah, many thanks. And just to add one point, as you said, for SMEs it is it is complex, which is good. On the other hand, they still need to gather the information. They need to provide audits. Yeah. So at the end of the day, the processes which need to be in place are there in a limited way, but still the liability is there. So please all have in mind that under EUDR, even SME is liable. Yeah. So simply you need to provide the processes. I ended up my presentation here with this. I mean highlights or challenges. Yeah. And here I would like to go to the key. Yeah. So because you're at the last mile and you're basically are dependent on your supply chain, you need to be aware that the very crucial element of it is the sourcing of the data at the source. Yeah. So geolocations, checking the supplier at the first goal. So every forest owner is an operator. Yeah. And once the source is secured in whatever measures and ways it is done, then you can feel good that your first supplier in your supply chain is doing the proper job and he has the right evidence of the source of his, timber. And now the important part, when we'll move slowly to do a short live demo of the timber ID. So basically, you're as a producer here at the end of the supply chain, yeah. And within the timber ID platform, we're offering a partnership within the entire supply chain, yeah. Because once you'll be in collaboration within the supply chain, you will basically decrease your workload by 80%. Yeah? You'll populate the data which you need to populate. You will automate it with integrations with your ERP, systems, and basically every transaction which you will do, and you need to link it with the submission of the DDS, which will be automated here, will basically also be with a less effort of your human work. What is important to say, and here Michael was touching it about the proofs of the source and the processes, risk assessment, risk mitigation levels. So we built in Timber ID digital delivery node functionality. So even as you see, simple wood chipping, timber is in a process managed, and we can prove the source with the right geolocation. Much easier for logs which are being then moved to a sawmill, and then we can do it also in the international sales on the containers or truckloads. Very important is here, as I say, that the process of the creation of the due diligence statement is automated, yeah, and that we provide in the Timber ID platform. So it enables integration with the ERP system. We're providing analysis and recommendations how to integrate in a minimal needed way in order that we can match the geolocation of the products which you're placing to the market with the source of the geolocation, which is in the platform. So one of the obligations are under EUDR, and please don't forget these are other commodities as well. Not only, timber is a satellite imagery deforestation analysis. So in our platform is just one click, and you will get the full report based on the requirements. But please have in mind that in the forestry, that is not the key element how you can provide the evidence. You got selective harvesting, you got very small plots of land, and with the requirement which is here under EUDR, basically using the EU satellites, Sentinel-1, Sentinel-2, where they have a resolution of 10 meters into 10 meters on 1 pixel. So you can imagine what information you can gather. It can be really a high level information. You cannot count on a detailed information to be provided by this tool. But yes, you need to have this report at least once a year per forest plot where you're sourcing timber. For those who are dealing on the import side, where we're talking about a traceability authentication, module, we have all built in our platform as a separate module, and we can support this process as well. So now one of key elements here is our offering, yeah. So we're charging for a license fee to access our platform from 100 euros annually. So it's not much, I would say. And then we're growing it depending on the size of the company. And the rest are the operational costs, is basically your usage of cloud, file storage, file processing, file transfers. We have customers which are of equal size, but one customer is having 100 invoices per year, other is having 2,000 invoices per year. So obviously the process of the due diligence statement creation, automation, the level of transfers will be much higher in the case 2, case 1. So basically you're paying only what you use. Yeah, the less you use, the less you pay. The more you need to use because of specifics of your business, the more you'll pay. Very simple implementation. It's just 1 day, and then we're giving you the consultancy to support you on the risk assessment, risk mitigation, and information gathering, which you need to do in the platform. The rest of the things are related to the traceability. If you want it, you can ask for it. We'll support you in that as well. there was a question early asked, about the delay. What are the impacts? We recommend the sooner you begin, the better it will be for you. So that's why we're offering till the end of the year for everyone who signs up. He will get an additional annual license free just to make them get enough time and understand. So I can just base it on a case. Last case, we were discussing with a customer, and it ended up with mapping of his supply chain that will take him between 6 to 9 months to get compliance. Yeah. So 12 months, delay is really not much for very complex supply chains or large companies with multiple suppliers. Yeah. So just here then, we're hoping that the Timber ID will be your preferred supply chain platform, as I say, timber specific, and we really would like to help you. Okay, let me now move to a question. Yeah. So I'm coming from a sawmill company, which is also further producing elements for building with wood, like glum and sit. Your solution, Timber, looks really promising. My question is, how can we assure log identification traceability if the round wood supplier is not using one of your systems? Okay, so just my genuine and friendly recommendation is based on my experience working in other industries. You are at the last mile. You are liable. You need to demand from your suppliers to deliver you the right information and provide the right processes. Just from experience, other industries, you want to supply to a company, whatever well-known brand it is, you will get a book of requirements which you need to fulfill to become their supplier. Yeah. And this will happen here as well, because you can't be liable without demanding the right information. Yeah. You should not basically, trade with someone who is not providing you this information, because at the end of the day, and we didn't mention that, Michael, yeah, about the risk levels. So we have low risk, standard, and high risk. Today, everybody's standard risk. We're expecting the European Commission to come in few months and do the risk, the classification. Yeah. So by default, you have low risk countries, 1% of transactions audited, standard 3%, high risk is 9%. If you think about these numbers, in a country, this will be thousands of audits, and you can expect an audit. Yeah, it's not that you will, as in EUTR, you maybe will not get an audit for 5 years. No, that's not going to happen here. Number two is because within the EU, every member country is appointing a competent authority to provide those audits. Yeah, but this audits can be provided across the country. So US producing furniture, for example, in Poland or Austria, sending it to France, you can get an audit from a French competent authority. Yeah. So have this in mind. So strong recommendation to this question: manage your due diligence process, your information gathering in the right way, because
And
at the end you're liable. Michael, if you could just
yeah, just
comment on.
something. I think just to clarify, so if you're based in Poland, you will not be controlled by a French authority, but the material which you send to a French whatever company, which is also then subject to the EUDR, could potentially be audited by the French authority. It means that the French authorities will check your due diligence. this is probably to put it correctly, right? So not that the French authority will then go to Poland
No.
but the material, and then of course there's a huge communication between the authorities. I mean, you need to understand that also the authorities, it's not just hard for the companies, it's also hard for the authorities. They assumption is that the authorities will focus at the beginning the most evident things, right? So if you did not do your due diligence statement, anyway, you cannot, let's say, put it appropriately on the market. But they will check: is the chain existing? Is it mapped? Did you do your basic homework, right? Are you tracking the data? This is the first thing they will do, right? This is the first thing what is coming from the authorities. But you also need to see that, of course, the EUDR gives a lot of room for claims, right? Claims from civil society, probably also from other, let's say, competitors. So you will be scrutinized not just by the authorities, but you will be also in the focus, or your activity will also be in the focus, or the activity of your suppliers will be in the focus of others. And this is also then triggering, of course, additional controls. So to set it up appropriately, I think is not a big deal if you do it, let's say, early enough, then you will cover your main compliance topics at the beginning.
Thank you. So let me just give you a quick helicopter view on the Timber ID platform. Happy to agree on a one-to-one I mean demo. So basically, that is the instance of the owner. So this platform is owned by Deeplai. So we have two modules. One is the authentication module. One is the EUDR module. Yeah. So once we move to the EUDR module, which is the most important, it is split it into three databases. Yeah, the database of the forest plots, where you need to have the deforestation analysis, satellite analysis report, risk assessment, mitigation, the measures. So just pick up, I don't know, any and go to the editing mode. Yeah, so basically you're downloading the JSON file which you will receive at your locations. You put your risk assessment, mitigation. So one of the compulsory, as I say, is the satellite imagery report. Simply adding here, if you want to just collect any links with information which you need. Yeah, you're importing from Africa, as Michael was saying, and then maybe indigenous people in this area. You can check it here directly if this forest plot is not really having any issues or any corruption index on the ownership, or you need any additional information or guidance by the preferred by nature. So all the links are here. Yeah, just one click here, and the deforestation report is generated and is filed. Yeah. So same with the companies. Yeah, you can just pick up a company. I'll go also to the editing mode. Yeah, standard. I mean data. You can add the registry, tax ID, any legal information you have here. And as Michael was saying, you can add if it is a PFC certified, FSC certified. We will automatically add now links in the platform which will check the certifications automatically. And also the corruption index. Yeah, whatever is needed here, you can add. And basically this data you can either import from your supplier who is using Timber ID. So we have here a partnership. You're inviting someone, you see that's your number, and you simply are communicating, so you know who shared what and when, and you can populate this data in the system. If the company is not a Timber ID user, you have open API keys, and you can simply link this information as well if you want to do it, or just manually insert it, or use whatever forms. Yeah. And now once you are getting to your product, so in your In your case, it will be a chair, a table, a sofa. So it will be with the elements. So the delivery note linked to your invoice will be matched with the products here automatically within the API connectivity. And the due diligence statement will be created also automatically here. We got here the creation of the DDS. So our system is being fully API connected. We're working with EU platform with the traces for more than 6 months now. So we know exactly what's going there. So you need to register as well. So you need to register, and then you can use our platform. Also, I was mentioning this due digital delivery note. We have the processes here in place. That's also specific. So just you have in mind their tools, how to provide the evidence. Yeah. So once you are having, as I mentioned, for a fixed fee, the license fee, you are getting your pay as you use, yeah. So the cloud usage, you see, the storage, the processing in the last day, months, etc. So here are the credits, yeah, which are, so you can see, okay, my credit was 137. I spent 11, so still available. So automatically, once you will reach 70% of usage, you'll get a notification that you need to upload the fund, funding. Yeah. So that was a quick overview of the platform. Yeah, you can feel free. We have still few minutes to ask any questions. Let me check if in the previous previous okay, there was a question. So in case when the furniture is also using MDF board and other elements from solid wood in the production, so how to address it, because there is a mix of supplies. Yeah. So very, I mean, simple. All your suppliers are in your ERP system. They all need to be linked with our timber ID. And once you're producing your final, product, we know that you are using this MDF board from supplier one, this solid wood board from supplier two, and you build your product, you created your HS code, and basically it's a match. So we will use the geolocations of both suppliers to add to your DDS that you can submit in the traces. Yes, I mean the level of complexity obviously depends on the company. Yeah. And we know in the real life, I mean, cases that it's not simple. We also have companies which are producing furniture only from solid wood like oak. Yeah. So that for them it's easy to have not many suppliers, and they're just using the oak boards to produce the furniture. But for multiple products which you're producing, obviously the processes are more complex, and you need to understand them and match them. So just also you to know, there is an appendix in EUDR with the HS codes for wood products. If you are not sure really if your product is under EUDR, you can just check your HS code, and you can find out. Yeah. So, Michael, we have 5 minutes to go. In summary, what would be your recommendations for a furniture producer?
yeah, just like get started, I would say. This is the recommendation. Get started and let's say dive into the topic. I think my experience is that at the beginning everything looks overwhelmingly huge, right? But as soon as you dive into the details of your supply chain, you very well see what you will have to do, and the theory is getting into practice, and the fog is clearing up a bit, right? And you see then that you have to do something, but that it's not impossible to do, right? Especially when you, let's say, involve your suppliers at a very early stage. I think this is crucial.
Many thanks. Also to add to it, it's important to be, I mean, said that as I mentioned, we're working with the Traces EU guys already for many. So we see that already hundreds of companies has registered in the Tracer system. Yeah, because we can view that information. We also see a lot of furniture manufacturers there already. So as Michael said, you don't need to wait. You can begin to at least register, see what needs to be done, and understand how you can manage it in your business based on a transaction level. So understand it is based on a transaction, I mean, level. Yeah. And as well, there are companies who began already to submit the DDSs, even it's not required, yeah, because yeah, the delay is there, but we are aware that many companies were already ready to begin now, yeah, fully prepared. So yeah, some of them decided to move on. So from my personal view, congratulations. Yeah, it is not yet an obligation, but yes, you can already run the business. So I wanted to end also with our new offering. It's on the website. So we're offering you a free consultation on the mapping of supply chain. Yeah, you can just click here. You need to the register. You will fill up a form, or you will get a PDF to fill up the form. We'll have then the connecting data with you. So feel free. We're encouraging you to begin basically with the most crucial thing: understand your entire supply chain. In real life, we are seeing that many customers simply do not know. They know their suppliers, they do not know their sub suppliers. Yeah. So please use that. We're happy to support you here. Remember that we have a special offering till the end of the year. If you want, you can make the advantage of that. And yeah, coming sharp to the end. Many thanks for your time. And we will be running next year at least once a month webinar on specific, I mean, topics. So sign up with Deeplai on the LinkedIn, and yeah, on this occasion we're like less than 2 weeks to the Christmas time. So Merry Christmas to everyone. Enjoy there is a long week this year with the Christmas free days. So enjoy that time with your families. Take rest. All the best, and with the coming new year, yeah, a lot of success in your business and getting compliant with UTR. Thank you very much. Still, Michael will leave his last comment or last voice to you.
No comment anymore. Just a Merry Christmas to everybody. Thank you, Zoltan.
Good. Once again, many thanks. And everybody will receive an email with the presentation and link. And as I say, feel free to reach out. Thank you very much. And once again, all the best. And thank you for joining us this morning. Thank you and goodbye.
Bye bye.